What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Build with the CEO. We are in the middle, week 3 of our slump survival theme, where we've been talking about how to handle clients that ghost, right? And we've really been talking about it in the context of running a new program, how sometimes it's challenging to even get clients to the starting line, especially if they've been repeat dieters and all of this anticipatory restriction and things that come on. And last week, we talked a little bit about that kind of mid-program slump that a lot of people will see, where clients drop off in that like week 3 or week 4 when like the dopamine wears off, and now this just becomes hard work. And so rather than listening to me for another week, I wanted to bring on my good friend and fellow registered dietitian, Jen, who's done a lot of work with us at Coach Catalyst and is just an absolute nutrition boss. And so she has Prosper Nutrition, which is her certification where she helps coaches kind of build their nutrition practice. But then she also is a practicing registered dietitian. And so actually working with people every single day, going through a lot of the same struggles that, a coach that's listening to this. And so I wanted to bring her on so that she can give a little insight into her experience. She always has good things to share. So Jen, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to talk about this topic with your audience.
So let's just start. This is all about, call it the client that ghosts, right? You've been working with clients for how long?
16 years now.
Okay. So you've probably had a fair amount of clients that have gone through yours, and you have a lot of clients that you've been working with for a really long time. And so we'll kind of get into some of those semantics. But, for you as a coach, how are you thinking about, let's just start first off, how do I make sure that I keep a client engaged, especially early on in a program where we don't just, they're good for a couple of weeks and then they fall off. How do you keep them engaged right away?
Oh my gosh, there's so many strategies I can share with coaches to bring to the table. So the first is at the very beginning when you meet with a client is talking about what to expect from me as a coach. So right in meeting number 1, when I sit down or sit across the screen from a new client that's starting, one of the things I always remind them is, in the beginning, you're going to have that initial excitement. This is fun to kick things off the ground. And you are probably going to hit this point where life is going to start to get in the way. Kids' schedules, crop up with activities. You maybe get the flu or the cold, you get sick, or, you just get a little bit tired of the work in front of you. That's where you've hired me as your coach to come check in on you. So I want you to know that if I see you start to drop off a little bit or get a little bit quiet, I'm not coming at you to make you feel bad. I never come from an angle of shame, but part of why we're in this coaching relationship is coaches are there in those tough moments. So I want you to know that you are going to hear from me if I hear you get a little bit quiet, and I'm going to check in on you. My job is to help you accomplish what you've hired me to support you through. So I do want you to know I'm going to pop in and check in on you from time to time. Sometimes I know you might not always be able to write back in the moment. That's cool. But I'm not going to stop until basically you tell me to go away. So I like right from the get-go setting that expectation.
And let's say you're doing like a group-based program and maybe you can't have this conversation one-on-one with everybody. Would you say maybe recording a video and making it as part of your onboarding?
Totally. You can do this in scale, right? You can have like a message in written format. You can have it in video format. Any way that you can just communicate this message that you are going to be the little sled dog that keeps pulling for them. When they get tired, you're there to walk the path with them. Yeah.
I like that because ultimately you're setting the stage that, hey, if you start getting quiet, I'm going to follow up with you and I'm going to keep following up with you until you tell me to stop. And so when that does happen, I would say this happens with a large majority of clients, right? It's not smooth sailing. And so now they see that happening and it shows that you care.
Exactly. And then I am a templates and system girl. So I have a couple emails up my sleeve. And what I thought I did in preparation for today's episode is I thought I would show you guys some real client messages I send. I sort of say that I'm not a tough coach, but I'm not also like a pushover coach. And I set the standard of how I expect my clients to treat me as well as to show up for themselves. So here are 2 of my favorite email templates when I'm starting to see a little bit of ghosting behavior. In the context that I'm going to share these emails, these are for clients that are getting one-on-one coaching calls with me. So it's a lock time in my schedule. They're supposed to be coming on the other side of the screen for some coaching. And at the very last minute, they're canceling through the app or they're sending me a cancellation message and they're just trying to get out of the obligation. So, one of them, here's an example email I sent to a client actually on January 5th, so start of this year, who I'd seen her in November, December, started the program off, turn of the new year, and she quietly tried to cancel through the app, right? Just skip this month's call, and I know I had one in February. So I just wrote her directly. Hey, Christina, I just saw that you had to cancel our nutrition session for next week, booked on January 12th. This is the time of year that I know things can get a little bit hectic, and I would still love to see you. Let me know if that day just doesn't work or if there's another reason that you're canceling, and we'll get you hooked up for another time this month. Jen. So then that's what that short email started to kick off. Here's the reply I got. And then I'm going to share my other email template of like, oh my God, I'm scared to meet the coach. So Christina writes me back, same day. Hey, Jen, I got in the 1 week reminder appointment for next week. It got me reflecting that I know I'm not quite ready for the next step yet. I'd rather make the most out of this journey, which is why I canceled. I hope that's okay. The exercise piece and being more veggie focused is going really well, but I haven't really made any progress on the protein component of the meals from what we talked about last month. Thanks for understanding. I'll see you next month. So she's still trying to be like, not coming to the meeting. So then I pulled out my it's time to deal with this now message. So this is a template I always use with clients in this headspace. Hey, Christina, thank you so much for your honest note. I really appreciate how you've thoughtfully reflected on things, and it tells me you're really engaged in this process, even if it doesn't feel like it right now. If I can put on my coaching hat for a moment, I want to gently offer a different perspective because this part is important. Feeling not quite ready or noticing that the protein piece hasn't fully clicked just yet is actually one of the best reasons to keep our session. This is exactly why you hire a coach, not to show up only when things are going perfectly, but to have support, accountability, and problem solving exactly when things feel messy or incomplete. Waiting until it feels easier usually just makes this harder on yourself, not better. We end up carrying it alone for longer, and suddenly 60 or 90 days have passed between sessions. Our monthly check ins are designed to catch things right where they are before your momentum starts to quietly slip. You're doing great work already with your exercise and veggies, which tells me we're not starting from scratch. The protein piece, that's not failure, it's just a signal, it's just data and feedback. And that's absolutely something we can work through together in a really practical, pressure free way. So, if you're still free next week, I really want you to re-grab your original spot and keep the momentum going. I think it could be a really valuable check-in, and that time may get taken by someone else soon. So let me know what feels right. And then I always do a super simple call to action. So let me know what feels right. Option A, skip this month and wait until February, knowing that means about 60 plus days between nutrition coaching check-ins. Or option B, re-grab your appointment time for next week and keep this monthly rhythm going. You can book it directly here and then the direct link to book it. Or if things are especially busy, just reply with A or B. Either way, I'm here to support you, Jen. Within 5 minutes of getting the email, she's back in my calendar for her original spot next week. And then I didn't really berate it back in another message back. As soon as we got on our call the following week, she was like, I know. I get your message. I get the point. I'm glad you reached out. I'm glad you told me to be here. Yes, this is what I need. So I have some kind of a template like that on standby, which is basically, hey, this is option A, and then kind of showing almost the downside of option A, but like not bullying them into the appointment. Here's
Hmm.
option B. Here's the logical reason why I think this is helping you. And if you notice, I said, can I put my coaching hat on for a moment? And then just coach during the email.
Right.
What are your
So
thoughts on that?
I love it. Do you have like when you say template, is it like you kind of have the structure of the email kind of
Yep,
pre-scripted and then you just fill in the
totally.
details for that client?
Yep. So I just have a good old folder on my computer with Word documents. And I started a few years ago looking at the emails I was sending over and over. So I have this email saved in my Word or my file folder as like cancellation flaky client. So when I need to go find that template, I just go in my folder. Where's my cancellation flaky client? Pull out the template. Now with AI, I feed the original messaging from the client into ChatGPT, feed in my template, and I go, ChatGPT, please customize my template back to this person. Takes 10 seconds, off it goes, and on I go with my day. Yeah, you're muted.
I clicked onto my other screen and I got to press my space bar to unmute myself.
There you
So
go.
there's
Yeah,
no noise in the background. But I love how you brought in the AI component because I think
totally.
that's a still an underutilized piece to be able to just quickly come up with things rather than like staring at the screen and like, oh, how do I say this? What's the best way to put this? And getting something and then you can tweak it a little bit from there rather
Mhm.
than going from scratch.
Yeah.
So I wanted to throw in one more thing here just for coaches. There was a new feature that we launched recently at Coach Catalyst, but we haven't really talked about it. It's called canned replies. So
Ooh,
inside of your inbox, you can have, kind of like Jen does with a folder, you can have a bunch of messages that you've already pre-planned out that you can use as your template and then modify them before you send them off to a client. Because if you are sending the same thing over and over and over again, no one likes to have to type it or to like
guys,
do the
this is
shortcut thing.
seriously one of the biggest bombs and hacks Trevor just dropped. This is where my coaching really took off. Is Google or Gmail originally had this can reply response. I love that you're bringing it right inside the Coach Catalyst app. Is I got advice from a business coach years ago of like, look at your 50 most sent messages and for efficiency, capture them in a way that you can easily find those messages and then individualize them. You'll save yourself so much work as a coach, but you're still coaching and individualizing to the client. I love you guys. You guys are always adding better features into Coach Catalyst. That is an amazing tool for coaches to use.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about saving time, right? And
Mm,
so, like, you shouldn't have to type the same thing 50 times, right? And so, just having it in there just helps a coach keep the individualization because that's really important, but not have to type the exact same thing over and over again. So, I love that.
exactly.
I really appreciate too a few kind of elements, and hopefully, people didn't just listen to what you said and are going to go back and listen to it again because I think there's some really powerful psychological components that you used even within that email to almost get permission a little bit and be like, all right, here's where I'm coming from. I'm putting my coaching hat on here, right? Leaving the autonomy with the client so that they
Totally.
can choose A or B.
Yep.
Here's what I was kind of suggest as a coach, and here's why I suggest that. But ultimately, you're the driver of your own ship and you can decide what you want to do. Because in any sort of like coaching situation, right? Especially if a client is new, maybe they've done this before and haven't had success. And so there's a lot of doubt. And then sometimes it's easier to just like not show up, right? Rather than having potentially a difficult conversation with their coach on like, I'm not quite doing as well as you thought I should be, or what they think you think they should
Right.
be doing, or whatever the plan was moving forward. And we see this a lot, right? Is a
Yeah.
client will ghost if they feel like they're not living up to the expectation that they feel like the coach has.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of clients want to people please, and if they feel like they haven't met the coach's standard, then they're like, "I'd rather just avoid the conversation till I'm at the standard privately, so give me time to work on it privately." And I always use the joke of personal training. If you hire a personal trainer and you've missed a couple workouts, you got sick over the holidays, you don't take a month to get fitter on your own. You just get back to the gym and you do your next workout with your personal trainer, whatever your current level of fitness is. The personal trainer is not waiting for you to get fitter before you're allowed to come back to the gym. And sometimes I'll just use that funny metaphor in the coaching hat example. So that's a great one when someone's like, feels like they're falling short of the coach's expectations.
And that's a very real thing. We've actually had people that have decided not to join the gym because they feel like they need to get in shape before they join the gym.
Right.
And it's kind of like
It
what the
beats
whole
the
point of
point.
going to the gym is to help you get
Yeah.
in shape. But like that's just this is the conversation that's happening in people's heads and the clients that you're working with. And so being aware of it and being able to give good examples and explanations helps that person think through their own thinking. And then many times comes to the realization like, oh, that is maybe a little bit irrational and like doesn't make much sense for what I want to do.
Yeah. Now that's a great coaching point for coaches to clients. Can I coach the coaches for a second on this call? And I
Absolutely.
come with a blank piece of paper and a Sharpie. And this is something I teach every single coach who goes through Prosper and the certification, and every single coach who's ever worked on behalf of me and my team. I think of it, I'm going to draw, please don't judge my art skills. I'm a better nutrition coach than artist. I think of it like a tennis court. There is a net down the center. You, the coach, are on one side. Your client it starts on the other side. And in a coaching relationship, we are only in charge of our half of the court. So I, as a coach, can give 100% effort for my domain, trying to get all of me
I guess it.
and the mic and the screen. So if I am giving my 100%, I am following up as I promised. I'm dropping lessons in on the right timeline. I'm making it harder or easier, and I'm matching the client's skill level, motivation, intensity, effort, where they're at. I'm coming present. I'm not distracted. I'm not looking at my cell phone. I'm not like my mind's not wandering. I'm using motivational interviewing. I'm asking good questions. And so if I'm giving 100%, I can put my head on the pillow at night and been like, I was a good coach today. Every client, the reality of coaching is every client is going to give you a different level of their version of 100%. Some clients start at 100% and then realize life means they have to back off to 60, 50, 70, 40%. Some clients, their very best is 20%, and they can only give you 20% because they're starting a business, they've just had a baby, they're going through a stressful divorce, their parent is sick with cancer. You don't always know all the demands going on, and it's so naive and it's a little bit inexperienced of coaches to think every client will give you 100% on their side. But here's the danger when you notice a client not able or unwilling, there's many reasons why they can't be at 100%. Do not climb over your half of the tennis court, do not cross the net, and try to lasso them to your side all the way up to the net. Clients can feel when they are being pushed harder than they are willing to push themselves, and it will almost always backfire. You will get mega ghosting. They will super run away in the other direction. And think about it as a coach. Maybe you've had that happen to you. Maybe you signed up for a business course to improve your business and you were in a mastermind or had a coach that just was like, more, give me, you're not posting on social media enough. I need more out of you. And you don't want to face that coach of yours because you're like, dude, I'm running business. I got my clients. I've got kids and family demands. No, I could be giving you more, but I just can't right now. And you don't want to face that coach. You can feel like you're being pulled harder. So sometimes it's helpful to just recognize if you can evaluate your own coaching skills and go, am I giving 100% effort, focus, good questions? It's individualized to the client. I'm following up and caring the way that I should. And I own 100% on my side. Then I allow people to dance in the percent. They'll come forward, they'll go back. It doesn't always have to be 100%. And that's okay. That's part of coaching. And a lot of coaches miss that, I think. And it creates a lot of distress for coaches when they're like, why can't I get my client all the way to 100 on doing the things they're supposed to do? That's life and that's coaching.
So how do you balance then, like a coach's job to an extent, and they may think their job is to get the client the result that the client came to them wanting to achieve. And the
Ooh.
coach understands that if they aren't giving their end, the likelihood of them achieving that result may be lower, or maybe they just won't get there as fast as the client had wanted to get there. So how do you balance that as a coach on like, this is what you told me,
Yep.
this is what I'm getting, and there's
Yep.
a mismatch on like what you need to be doing in order to achieve what you told me you want to achieve?
So you have a honest, real conversation where again you give the client choices. So you kind of, I always say like I'm going to give you a couple platters, and you choose the platter that's most appealing. So like platter A is you hired me, you said you want this result. In all honesty, let's talk about the sacrifices, the trade-offs, the competing priorities, where health decisions are going to have to win to prioritize your sleep, your workouts, your nutrition, your stress management. So that's the first platter of like, I want the results, I want it on the timeline. Then these are the things that I know from experience it's going to take to get you that. Option B is I still want those results, but maybe I have to be a little more flexible on the timeline. It's going to take longer than 3 months, 6 months, a year to lose the 50, 60, whatever pounds, I want to get off my body. So that's okay too. That means you get to go out for ice cream a little bit more. Maybe doom scroll hopefully we're not choosing that all the time, but you're not always making the smartest sleep decision, or you're skipping the Saturday workout because you wanted to go watch the soccer game that your niece is playing in, or whatever the case might be. Platter C is, you know what? I thought I wanted that. I said I wanted that, but I have enough evidence with my actions, my decisions, that I really don't want to change a whole lot. And I did this actually with a client just before Christmas. I talk about sports brackets. So when you think about like playoffs, teams play off against each other, and then the winning team moves on to the next progression in the playoff series. So with her, what I talked about was we have two teams in the playoffs. You don't have to win the majority, but you have to win the majority, but you don't have to win all the games. We had team health, and then we had team comfort. And so I said, let's look at some of the decisions you've been making, the last couple months. The microwave mac and cheese, team comfort. The not going out for the dog walks like we talked about, team comfort. I know it's snowy. It's not the nicest weather here. The skipping the workout a couple mornings in a row because you wanted to sleep in and snooze, team comfort. Okay, I do see some team health. Look, here. But if we look at who's winning the playoffs, team comfort keeps sort of winning the majority of the games. Do you want team health to be the World Series champion? Or are you okay that team comfort has kind of been the dominating team and that's the way you want it to roll? And she's like, I've never looked at my decisions like that before. And I said, just even as an observation through the day, notice when there's like, it's not that people are lazy, it's that two values are coming head to head. And there's a long standing value, and then there's a new identity that has new values tied in.
Hmm.
And they're just used to the old identity and the old sets of values winning the decision making. So I gave her a coaching exercise to just observe when the two were actually head to head, when a decision needed to be made, and to notice which team was winning the match. And she's like, I've never thought about behavior change like that. But she's like, now I'm seeing my choices totally differently. And she came back in January and she's like, yep, Jen, I chose team comfort more than I chose team health, but I now don't feel so good. And this month, I really do want to make like team health the winning team of the two. I was like, cool, let's get to work on that then.
Hmm. That's awesome. That's super powerful. Sometimes all it takes is a reframe, right?
Hmm.
And giving stuff some names, right? Giving it, because that gives it a little bit of substance. So I love the team health versus team comfort. It's not that I like that it was team comfort too, because that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? It's just something that isn't necessarily supporting the thing that you want to do.
Right. And I mean, when you look at it that way of competing priorities, and yet then you can see the world through your client's eyes. Like you're a parent, you've got probably a crazy schedule, you're a CEO, you're running a business, you want to be family oriented as well. You might choose date night with your wife because that love, that connection, the romance, the keeping the spark is really important. You might choose letting your kids run into bed and wake you up early because you only get so many years where kids want to run in bed and snuggle with you. You would not probably choose putting a lock on your door so you get perfect sleep and no one can ever interrupt you. And you're not bad for, choosing a family oriented answer, but it may come at the expense of maybe a health decision. So when you sort of show it as like priorities are coming head to head, it shows what their values are based on the decisions that they're making. And they're like, no, I do really value my family, or I do really value rest and relaxation after work. I work really hard at my job. I do want to watch Love is Blind on Netflix for an hour and a half and not feel guilty about that. Cool. That tells me you're valuing rest after working really hard. That's okay. Is there another place then team health can fit in your day so you can honor both values? But also, we have limited hours in the day, limited energy. And sometimes coaches think, oh, it can all be done. And in a lot of cases, you can't have them all be done, but we can look at like, where can we have it win the majority?
I love that. So let's say you're running like a more of a group-based program, right? A cohort type model. How could
Yep.
you employ some of the stuff you're talking about in this one-to-one in more of a one to a few or one to many type model?
Yeah, I think it's normalizing within a group scenario, and maybe even that diagram of like, hey guys, I'm going to give you my best to this group, but don't compare. Like, there'll be people in this group that are going to be guns blazing. They maybe don't have as many obstacles, challenges, competing priorities. Please don't ever feel that you're falling behind. What I expect of each of you is your best, but I know that your best might have more limitations than someone else's best beside you. So I think sometimes people look around in group coaching and they're like, oh my gosh, this person's celebrating this win. Oh my gosh, this person's down 10 pounds already. And they're like, what's wrong with me? And then they want to like remove themselves, or those are the clients that often start to week 3, week 4, quietly pull back from a group coaching cohort because they're looking around at everyone else getting better results comparatively. And they just feel like, why I don't even belong. I'm just a screw up. Everyone's like taking this more seriously than me. So I think it's cool to talk about competing priorities again early. Or if you're having like people like share your wins, normalize that some people have a lot more going on than others. And that's not a bad thing if you're choosing other priorities that are important to a good life for you. So I think you can make people feel more included in a group when you just address that.
I love that. And like just to kind of reiterate some stuff that you're saying, and with the different principles that you really given is like getting ahead of this stuff, right? A lot of your success is going to be talking about this before the client starts feeling it.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, one of my favorite success tools for getting ahead of it is I have this funny little toothbrush I keep in my cup holder. And I'll give this example. I probably gave it on an old podcast with you, but I always do this exercise on call number 1. So I'll do it with Trevor. We'll see how Trevor does. So, Trevor, did you brush your teeth last night or this morning within the last 24 hours?
Yes.
Okay, good. Me too. Now, I'm going to out myself I've missed a rep within the last year. Like I just was so tired. I flopped into bed. Have you done that? Okay, you're human too. Good. I don't feel so out there by myself. Now, today's a Friday. Imagine you didn't brush your teeth for whatever reason tonight. What would you do tomorrow, this weekend?
Brush my teeth.
Perfect answer. So I want to point out what your mindset just did. Three important things we're going to pull into nutrition coaching together. Forgive quickly, take action quickly, don't miss twice in a row. I want you to actually say that back to me. It's so important. So what do I want you to do if you miss a rep? You're going to forgive quickly,
Forgive quickly.
take action
Take action quickly.
and we're not going to miss anything more than
2 days in a row.
2 days in a row. So that is going to be a really important problem solving mantra for missteps, mistakes, air quote. There's no such thing as a mistake. There's just a off moment. That's okay. I expect that to happen in us working together. Because if we're eating perfectly with nutrition, I'm actually worried that you might have an eating disorder. So know that I expect some off track meals, snacks, days, whatever. But like our little toothbrush, you don't go, forget it. I've blown it. Now I'm not going to brush my teeth Saturday, Sunday. Monday, I'll get back on track when things settle down. You would never stop brushing your teeth. That's gross. That's weird, right? You just go, okay, whatever, no big deal. And notice how there's no inner bully. You don't make yourself feel judged or ashamed or bad. You sweep it off and you get right back to it quickly. So, for a lot of people who come to me that have a long history of dieting, part of dieting that they've learned is to yell at themselves over their mistakes, to judge themselves really harshly. And so, one of the little training, coaching moments I want to do right now is I'm telling you, I'm booting your inner bully out of your head. It is not allowed to be on this journey with us. So, as a coach, I do expect a few missteps. That's normal. That's okay. That's not a problem. But like my little toothbrush magic wand, if you remember any one thing from our first call today, I want you to remember forgive quickly, take action quickly, don't miss twice in a row. Dust yourself off and on we go. That's cool with me if that's cool with you. So I keep a little prop literally in my cup holder. Such a fun game for coaches to do. And clients always, I'm like, if you 5 years down the road, they're like, Jen, I still think about the toothbrush. I still think about what you said. Forgive quickly, take action quickly, don't miss 2 days in a row.
Where do you come? Like, you are like probably top, maybe even number one of like best analogies, like with your coaching. Is this something that you just like stay up late at night and try to figure out? Or
I think, like, I speak English and I think my secondary language is metaphors. But here's the honest answer. So I actually got to develop the skill because I was a university professor, but I didn't get assigned the elite nutrition class. When I first applied to be a prof, they gave me the class most of the dietitian professors didn't want to teach. I got first year intro to nutrition for non-science majors. So I had to teach the science of nutrition for anyone who dropped science in high school, but was like an art student, a poli-sci student, and they had that requirement to graduate that they had to take one scientific university credit to get their degree. I had to figure out how to make science fun and simple and easy. And I actually kind of joke, I've had a few concussions. So for my brain, I have to keep it really, really simple. And then I just started to notice clients found it easier to adopt the lessons I was trying to get them to do with their food if I could teach it in a sticky game or metaphor. So I just started to notice I tried experiments with clients and thought of a way to teach it as a game or a metaphor. And then ultimately that's why I created Prosper is I took this whole bank of like games and resources and metaphors and I just want coaches to get better results for their clients. And some coaches are just too smart for their own good. They
Mhm.
teach too high of a level or they make it too complicated. So, my advice anyone that's a coach and been coaching for a while, beginner coaches complicate, experts simplify. The more you simplify, the better your coaching becomes.
I love it. And it gives that metaphor, right? Like the toothbrush.
Mhm.
They don't need to
Yeah.
remember the whole story, but if they just
No.
remember the toothbrush, like that object, now,
Yep.
okay, now I can recall the story. And so it's
Yeah.
kind of how our brains work. And I would have to give you props because that's what makes Prosper Nutrition, your certification, different is its real world coaching application, not just like what is a carb, what is a protein, like how does it operate in our body? It's like, okay,
Right.
cool. Yes, we cover those things, but it's like
Yeah.
how do I then impart this information to a client so they actually use
Totally.
it and they can remember?
Yep. And make their life healthier, but not be stressed out in the process, for sure.
I love it. Well, Jen, it is always a pleasure having you on. and you always share new and fun things and cool metaphors and analogies that I
Thanks.
can steal, and hopefully everyone on this call that's listening
Please do.
can steal as well. And if people want to find out a little bit more about what you're up to, what are some places?
Yeah, I give away a ton of freebies for coaches. If you head over to prospernutritioncoaching.com or prospernc.com, that will get you there. Same thing on Instagram. It's at prosper_N as in Nancy, C as in cat. That's where you'll find me.
Sweet. We'll make sure we have all of that in the description too, so you guys can just click into that. Thanks, Jen, for hanging out. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
See ya.